Yeah. So, hey everyone, welcome to today's stream. So, we're going to be talking today about the developer contest that's going on right now. Hashtag Extend Omniverse. We have a lot of people here today to kind of talk about, the contest and things they've been working on, and help you with your submission to the contest. So, first of all, before we get started, we have a few announcements. Edmar, I know you were talking about SIGGRAPH, so let's start off with SIGGRAPH.
Yeah, so I was just mentioning a minute ago, so we are going to be at SIGGRAPH. There'll definitely be some video folks there. There are a lot of great content, including a keynote, which will be amazing. If you're going, let us know. We can hook up some meetings while you're there. But generally, we're also going to be doing something special and supporting it 100% virtually as well. So that's basically going to be on our Discord server a lot. So we've actually set up session channels on our Discord server. So if you go to the Omniverse Discord server, which is discord.gg/NVIDIA Omniverse, you'll see a category of channels called SIGGRAPH 2022. So we pre-populated those with some of the important sessions. We're going to be adding some more. And that is to allow people to start discussion sessions before, during, and after. We heard before that some people would love to meet and engage with other users they met at the sessions after the fact. So that's why we did this. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I think that not even that long after that, we're going to take that again at GTC. So look forward for more of those like live engagements with NVIDIA developers and other people in the community at both those events. We'll be sharing a lot more information about what we're doing at GTC very shortly, but it's going to be very exciting next few months for everybody here. So that's upcoming events.
On the SIGGRAPH thing, if you are there in person, I'd love to meet you. I'll be there. Ashley will be there. Jen will be there. Eric will be there. We're teaching people how to build extensions. So if you want to get hands-on, or if you just want to, go get a snack, we can do that too. So that'd be great. I'd love to meet with you.
And that would be great because you'll get a chance to meet the people Paul and he's mentioned his colleagues that will be there that have been actually very active on Discord server with the community, especially relating to this contest. So get to meet some of those people in the flesh. So speaking of the contest, so we are here to actually go over and answer questions and show extensions. We have a great panel here from internal and external. So the goal of today is to actually look at how extensions are made. The whole purpose of the contest is to really educate developers on how you start working with Omniverse and make extensions. And I think probably the general theme from my point of view is don't overthink it. It's actually a lot simpler than you think it is. And extensions can be made in as little as minutes or hours or a day. And the sky's the limit. You can think of anything. And I think right now the great opportunity is that because it's a new platform, we just released Omniverse Code not too long ago, there's a lot of things that haven't been done yet. So you could basically make your mark right now. And this contest is a great way to do that. And also potentially, and I think the odds are pretty good, if you got a good idea, win an amazing GPU to actually add to your arsenal. Okay, so why don't we introduce folks? We'll start with the NVIDIA folks. So we have obviously Wendy who's managing the live stream server. Maddie, who has been very active on our Discord server answering developer questions. Hey, Maddie. We have Renato, who's also very active on the Discord server, I should say. A lot of it on the Isaac topic. Vishal, who's here. He's actually an intern here, and he's going to show off an amazing extension he's been working on. And then we have, obviously, Paul Kutzinger, Justin Kovac, and first time on the live stream, Grace. Hey, Grace.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon.
And thank you for joining us. Yeah, so this is your first time. Do you want to kind of introduce yourself a little bit?
Of course. Hi, Grace Mitri here. I'm the product manager of digital twins here at NVIDIA.
And
I've been working with all these amazing people to build extensions and create documentations and figuring out how to build amazing things with digital twins.
Nice. Thank you for coming on. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you.
And last but not least, probably the person who has the coolest name I've seen in a very long time, Star Long is here from the Acceleration Agency. And he's going to show off in the second part of the show. He's going to show off an extension that one of his developers on his team made. That is, I think, going to really impress people because it involves using Google Sheet to actually adjust and edit things in Omniverse and really quickly and easily. So we'll look at that. But why don't we get started with actually talking about the warehouse creator? I guess is that the right name, Vishal?
Yeah, so I mean, at least until now, it's called that. We don't know what it would be called later, but basically, yeah, it's an extension that exactly does what it's called as. It creates warehouse scenes. So the idea was to work on a really nice, fun way to introduce our documentation to the users, where people can just come in and quickly get started with building warehouse scenes without having to search for assets or go through much effort. So that's how this extension was that's how it came into existence. And I personally am not a coder myself. I'm not a developer. So I think in the community, if there are people who are like me, this would be super useful, and it would really show how easy it is to make like extensions in Omniverse and how you can quickly get started, both the UI and the stuff that the extension does.
Awesome. And I think, so we go ahead, Grace.
I was gonna jump in because we introduced that this warehouse creator is going to help really create scenes so quickly. But maybe what we need to talk about is what does it take to create a scene? Like, why is it a challenge, and why did you think that we needed create this extension to help facilitate that?
That would be wonderful. And Renato, I'm going to look at you for how would we answer that question?
Okay, for creating a scene is essentially you need to have, let's say, a bunch of assets, because essentially what a scene is a collection of everything that you put into it. And for a warehouse, what you need is the walls of the warehouse where you have everything, the shelves that you may have in the warehouse, some signaling items like poles and railings on the floor, the contents that are going to be on the shelves, and each one of those assets needs to be dragged in, placed correctly on the scene, and so that it looks like an organized space that robots can navigate in, other people can walk around, forklifts and whatnot. And there are some set of rules that needs to be followed to do that, so that all the spaces are correctly respected, so that people can actually be around. And I gotta be honest, as a developer myself, I lack the creativity to create this set of environments that are dynamic, that they are gonna look different from one another. And having an extension that can do that for us in a procedural way helps a lot, because then I can focus on the other aspects of what I need to do. In my case, it is building robots, so I can create the extensions that make the robot behave as expected. So I can hand it off to another set of automation tools to create the environment for me and focus on what is my areas of expertise.
Awesome.
Very cool. And so with that being said, Vishal, do you want to do a little show and tell so people can get a better idea?
Yeah, sure. So I think, let me quickly share my screen. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Yep. Good.
Okay.
It's
awesome.
showing us,
So,
yeah. Okay. You're good.
Okay. So I actually wanted to talk about what app I used to start making this, and I think this is something really useful for non-developers like me to know when they're creating extensions. So this is Omniverse Code. So this is like one of the new apps that has come in the launcher. I think there's one more new version that's out, but basically you can just go to Exchange and download Omniverse Code from the launcher to get this application. And the cool thing about Omniverse Code is that it has all these tabs up here, so which has quick links to the documentations. If you want to read through anything, it has cool examples. You can actually try out how the UI looks like if you write this code and so on. So it's really cool here. And it also allows you to create your own extensions like quickly. So this one's the extension that I made. But if you want to get started with creating your own, you simply just click on this new extension template, and then you just create a location. So this one's mine here. So you just create a folder, and it should just walk you through creating your project. And you will get like a full-on recipe with code in it, and you can start making it. And I'll show you it in a bit. But before that, let me show you what Warehouse Creator can do. So that's how you turn it on. So you have all your extension in the extensions tab, and you just toggle this toggle on, and you get your extension. You can go back to the viewport, and so basically this is what it is. It's pretty much like a documentation, but again, like much more interactive and allows you to build scenes. So there's this button if you want to get started with creating just a warehouse shell. We create warehouse scene. So that was the idea for creating this extension. You just click that button, and then you get like an empty warehouse shell that you can start off. You can put in your own assets and start building it. Or there's also a way to fully procedurally generate a warehouse. So it's very simple. It has a set of rules. It picks up assets from the content browser and then puts it into specific positions to construct our scene. So here we have this full randomly generated warehouse. We have a forklift, a small robot here. So that's pretty neat. And the cool thing about making extensions in Omniverse is you can just go crazy with the UI. So I just wanted to be a little artsy with things. So we made these icons, and you can create a cool UI for users to get working with it. So this is a way to create customized scenes. This is the next thing that it can do. Rather than, let me just clear the scene. Here we go. So the other option is, rather than just quickly generating, you can also customize your generation. So you can select what type of layout you want. So let's say I want an L-shaped layout, and I want my entire warehouse to have just empty racks, then some piles, railings, and a forklift. And then I say generate. So it has to generate an L-shaped warehouse now with just random piles and a forklift and railing, only the objects that you selected. So, and then it also allows you to bring in your own assets. That part is still not complete yet, but yeah. So that's pretty much the idea. That's what the extension does, pretty much. And
so it's magic,
Magic.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Awesome. I saw this a week ago, or not even a week ago. You showed me this, and it was already looking awesome, and now it looks 10 times better. So you've either been just plugging away, or you're making this look way easier than I would ever anticipate. But really cool work here.
Yeah, very
To jump
cool.
in here and say, I was working with Vishal on the documentation, and I think the last time we touched base was a Friday afternoon, and it's okay, we're done, we'll connect back on Monday. And then come Monday, he's like, Grace, I have this extension. I think I figured out a better way to actually build these scenes instead of just doing documentation. And that was incredible. So he just did it, the first version, in one weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's how easy it is to actually start making an extension. I can actually quickly walk through the code, if someone's interested in making something like this. It's super noob level, but it's really fun. It's easy to create an extension. So let me...
Yeah, it's definitely awesome.
Yeah, and Vishal, you keep saying that you're not a developer, but what does that mean? Did you have any Python experience before, or where are you coming from?
So I'm actually a designer by background. I did my bachelor's in architecture, but after that I kind of moved into design technology. So not exactly full stack software development, but creating quick prototypes and stuff like that. So I had a basic knowledge of Python, and I think that's good enough. And after that, it's just pretty much reading the documentation and building a soup out of all the examples available.
So comment on Twitch, teach us this magic. Imagine this with City Engine. I think that would be really cool.
So I do have a question from the community. Is this extension on GitHub or open source? So how do people get a hold of this extension?
Yeah, I think it's going to be made public soon. They will get access to it soon. It's just a matter of time. Probably like in a couple of days, it should be out on GitHub.
Some T's and dot and I's for it, right?
Sorry?
Then like all extensions, you can go into an extension and you can click on the little Visual Studio button to be able to open up the code to see it. So if you see anything inside of Create or View or Code that you think is cool and you'd like to use in your own extensions, just go find the extension that makes that, because everything in all those apps are extensions, and then check it out. So like, for example, I was looking into the Snap tool. I wanted to see how they were doing a particular thing on the click state. So I just went and I found the toolbar extension, opened that up, and followed the rabbit hole down to the code I wanted, and was able to make use of it. So when we launch this, yes, of course, you can see the code. Just go check it out.
So I do have another question from the community. Will you be able to use plant layout DWGs to auto-generate a layout according to the drawing? Would it be able to detect columns, interior wall positions, anything needed to prep the DWG?
Yeah, I think the thing with building extensions is a lot of things are possible. It's just a matter of reading through the documentations, watching the amazing tutorials we have, to build them. And I think you can build a lot of awesome stuff watching those tutorials.
It's an extension I would love to see. Last week we saw from SyncTwin, we saw bring a PDF to be a basic floor plan where you could lay out some conveyor belts and lay out shelving onto an actual floor plan of your building. Bringing in a DWG is another great idea, and then being able to transform those DWGs or PDFs or anything into walls or into information for this warehouse creator would be a great idea. Yeah, these are great. So show us the magic, Vishal.
Can I add one more thing? We talked about how we created and we showed it to a few folks here at NVIDIA, but the most awesome thing is that now we're going to collaborate with 2-3 other teams, I believe, Vishal and Renato, to include, like right now, the first step is, okay, we're doing the scene generation and you're able to see that. But then the next scenario that we're building is actually putting in a robot that's going to move within the scenes. Then the third scenario is we're going to have a specific layout, and we're going to show you how you can optimize that layout. So these are some of the things that we're planning to add and expand. The coolest thing, again, is we're not going to be developing all of these ourselves. We're going to share these extensions with these different teams, and they're going to actually build it. So, yeah. Thank you, Vishal. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And I think this is all just showing the way for the community. Like, we know this is interesting to a bunch of our a bunch of our customers. A lot of which we can talk about BMW, we can talk about Amazon, we can talk about a lot of our customers, but not all of them. And we know this kind of warehouse generation is interesting to a bunch of them. So I think this is a great place for the community to pile in and start thinking about these kinds of warehouse building, digital twin building tools to accelerate little parts of these processes. Is really like you just showed a bunch of empty shelves. What about algorithms to stack stuff on shelves? Maybe there's different ways you need, like the community should be building that kind of stuff. So yeah, and
it doesn't have to be a warehouse. It doesn't have to be a warehouse. So warehouse was the first thing that we thought about, but there's so many other verticals. Like think about a retail store, think about a factory. You can think about, I don't know,
even offices.
Exactly. And then you drop in a digital human, and then you have all of these, and then it's magic. Okay, go ahead.
Live event spaces would be another great use case because that's just repeated geometry, of all the seating.
So Vishal, show us the code. We're dying. Show us what you coded.
Sure. Okay, so let me.
Everyone's shouting at Vishal.
Okay, so this, you can see my screen.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically what happens is in the beginning when we created the new extension, it walks you through and it automatically opens your VS Code and it creates your project folder with all the other stuff that's needed to initiate the extension within Omniverse. The file that we are concerned about is, or at least I was concerned about, is the one that's inside the project slug name, the folder. It's called extension.py. And that's where the main code for your extension lives. This one is an additional file that I added, which I'll talk about. But so this one's the main file. You have all your library imports. Ignore the linting errors. But yeah, so you have the import libraries here, and I use this particular Nucleus server, but you can use your own Nucleus server to get started. And Nucleus server is this folder on the cloud, like a drive that you have where you can store your assets or where your assets that you bring in through connectors live. So it's easy to store them there and then use them to reference them in your extension. So the first function, the first class, the main class, this contains the all the stuff that goes in your warehouse, and this is the function that gets evoked when you start the extension. So when we turned on the toggle, this is the function that gets run when you turn on that toggle. So I basically, so this is like a simple way of doing it. So let me talk about this file first. Before that, I just made another file called recipes.py. So this file is where I just saved where each of these objects that come in my scene go. So where the positions on the stage, as well as where I can get these assets from, the paths from my Nucleus server. So I just have a dictionary here that contains the different asset paths. And I also have different modes based on which the layouts are generated. So for each of these modes, I'm just connecting a function that places objects in that mode. And these functions are, and then for the forklift and the robot, I'm just hard coding a fixed position. It's just the angle changes each time you create a new generation, but the position is the same. And the way a position is defined is it's like a tuple with X, Y, and Z directions. And I have these functions that place the other objects. So it's basically I split the entire warehouse shell into a grid. And then I just select that racks can go to these positions in the grid. And then boxes go to these positions and so on. And these functions just select one particular asset at random from my set of assets in the folder and place it in these locations and the points. So that's what these functions do. I'll talk about how these objects are placed in those positions, but this basically returns the list of positions where the objects can go to. So that's this file. Do you have any questions? Still no? No? All good?
Good so far?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, awesome. So coming back to the main file extension, the first part is the UI. So always we start with a window, and that window contains this title. I don't even know, I called it version 0.1, but yeah, that's what it's called. And the first thing is I'm just styling the buttons here. And this was really cool. I just picked it up from the UI doc. It said, if you want to style something, you can use general CSS styling. So it's just a style object, and then you open up and you have these different, for button, if it's hovered, what are the two properties that I want to change? Then in general, button has nothing. My code is messy. Then the color of the button label is this, and so on. So I set the styles here. And I start a vertical stack. So UI.vStack is the one that kind of creates UI elements stacked vertically. So it's really nice to group elements horizontally or vertically, and it would automatically spread them across the size of the window. So that's a pretty neat feature. So I'm just starting this vertical stack, and this is the main stack that kind of has all the elements stacked in it. And I'm using the style one that I just defined before to color all my buttons and make them look green when I hover on them. And then these are the other stuff that made the UI. So the title, the description. If you wanna put a label, it's UI.label, and then you just give a name for the label, and then you can also give styles inside, like during while defining the UI element itself within the constructor. You just say style, and then you can open curly brackets and then type it. So yeah, so this is where the UI is constructed, and the cool thing about using this stack is you can use stacks inside of stacks. So that's how everything like is kind of put together like in a grid. So you have a vertical stack that contains all elements stacked vertically, but within that, I also have like, for example, here is a vertical stack for like selecting the layout. Like I had 6 different buttons. So I wanted each of the row to be a horizontal stack, and then those 2 rows together are a vertical stack. So that's like a neat way of kind of nesting stacks and building your UI. And it's pretty simple, just whatever you want. Like if it's a label, UI.label. If it's a button, it's UI.button, and so on. And for each of the buttons, I'm just adding this option called the clicked function, which would trigger that function when clicked. And I'm connecting with certain helper functions that I've written that does different things. So that's basically the front end, like just using stacks and using images that I already made. For example, here I'm using a button image and I'm taking an image that I have on my local Nucleus server. So this is building the UI, and then these are the functions. So the main scene building stuff is just spawning primitives. So I have positions that come from the recipes.py, and I have primitives that are there in my folder. And I write this one function where you can use omni.usd.getContext.getStage to get the current stage of the app that's open. And then I'm getting the default primitive that's there in the stage. So that's going to be my world. And I want all my assets to be spawned as a child to this world. So the way in which I'm spawning assets is I'm just creating an empty X form. And this is like, you can imagine like it's a container that should contain my asset. And then I just just make sure that the container is clear. It does not have any other asset. And then I have the path of the asset that comes as an argument passed to this function. So I put that path as a reference to this XForm container that we just created before this, and it just adds the asset to that XForm. So that's how I spawn assets. And once you spawn assets, you can set their translate, rotate, scale using this function. You can say USD XForm common API. And all of this, I just got it from the doc. There are some really cool examples, and all of these are pretty much understood from the docs themselves. So
it's cool, Vishal.
Very cool. And so people probably can look forward to the extension maybe as early as Friday if we're talking about a couple days. So you only have a couple days to really have this access to yourself. Let's switch gears a little bit because we have Star here to show, and we could circle back to this for Vishal too on the Discord channel after the live stream. People want to dig further, but Star has something really interesting to show off as well, and also relates to a digital twin and a Google Sheet. Who would have thought? So Star, tell us exactly. Give us a little background on yourself and your company, and then tell us why you ended up doing something like this.
Sure. So I work for a company called the Acceleration Agency, and thanks for having me on the live stream. I love we're the Brady Bunch, and I guess I'm Alice because everyone else is a Brady. And I just dated myself though. With that.
Alice is my favorite character. So
there you go. Yeah, great. So. We're a technology consulting company. We build lots of cool, fun stuff for different clients, and we, for the last few years, one of the projects we were working on included some digital twin work for Kernel, and we do a specific kind of digital twin, which is called an active digital twin. So, and what an active digital twin is, while there's some simulation involved, it's about taking real-time data from little tags that you would attach to like a person or inventory item, and then there's like a sensor network. So you see that is a sensor mounted in the ceiling, and there's one of those. There's one of those in every corner of our office, and so we have this project called Project Gemiini, which is an active digital twin toolkit. Actually, let me just share my screen. Here we go. So this is the office that we digitally recreated. Don't come to Austin; it's very hot. You can see it's like 97 degrees. That's pulling sensor data actually. But if you're still seeing my camera, like that is the outside of our office. You can sort of see that it's
your
like,
car.
There's my car,
there,
and there's my car right there. And then you can do the little dollhouse, turn off the ceiling. There's me. My tag is currently sitting out there in the kitchen right now, so that's why it's showing me over there. And so then one of the use cases we're building, and I love the fact that this led with the warehouse creator, because that's one of the use cases we're working against, and that led to this Google Sheet extension, because one of the use cases you deal with digital twins is operating at scale. So Paul Cutzinger and I, who worked together at Disney for a while, had contacted each other and started brainstorming of like, because we saw Omniverse happening, and we're like, hey, we're doing this digital twin work, and how can we start using Omniverse? And when you're operating like warehouses, and one of the things we're always thinking about is like, what, not just the creation phase of a digital twin, but what's the administration phase of it like? Because two things are important to understand when you're not just building a digital twin, but when you're administrating a digital twin. Artists and engineers are not going to be administering your digital twin. It's going to be, administrators. So the idea that they're going to be using something like a 3D interface is not going to happen. The other thing is you're going to have to be operating at scale. So we took the digital twin of our office, and we built the universal scene descriptor version, the USD version of it. So here's the digital twin of our office in USD format. And we also took, because we wanted to model the use case of like a warehouse, we inventoried the infamous box of cables that we have in our office. So you know how like in your garage and in your office, there's always like the box of like 100 different USB cables and like little bits of random gear, of like little developer boards, and just, well, our office, I don't know about your, but our office is filled with that stuff. And so we made our intern inventory all of that and put it in a Google Sheet. And so Paul Kane, who built this extension, built this Google Sheet scraper that basically scraped all the data out of the Google Sheet and then read it into our digital twin. And so Paul was like, oh my God, that would be great. Like, what, can you do that and write that data into Omniverse? And we're like, oh, sure, easy. And so, Vishal did a great job describing all the steps of like building an extension and using code. And so that's a hard act to follow. So I'm not going to follow all that steps. I'm just going to show what it does. So I loaded up the digital twin. And so then I'm going to go to extensions. And this is also going to be in GitHub probably tomorrow or maybe even today. But this is our little Google Sheet extension. And you just enable that. And then once it's enabled, you can have it running, floating, or you can just like dock it down here. I like to have it docked down here. You can go back to your viewport, and then you can start it. And what this allows you to do is, so if I select my car right here, and then I click save, now that is selected. Now, anytime I modify any of these parameters in the Google Sheet, it's gonna propagate to Omniverse. And we're using the Google API, and we're just polling that every couple of seconds and both ways. So we're polling Omniverse every few frames as well. And so and we basically have two versions of this. We have this version, which is the Google Sheets version, which is kind of the free, simple version. And then we have the full CRM Salesforce version, which you can imagine, again, like think of a warehouse where somebody's got like thousands of objects and they want to change the parameters of all of those at once. Because the first question we always get when we show this is like, well, I can just click on that car and change those parameters in Omniverse, or I can change it in Maya, or I can change it in 3ds Max. Well, you can't think of like the one car. You got to think of like a car parking lot full of like 500 cars, and you want to change the parameters all at once. So that's what this is for. And what was cool for us is we couldn't. This was the first example we found in the extensions where you would take an external data source and propagate that back and forth between that external data source and Omniverse. And for developers who want to like do something similar, again, this will be available in GitHub, and then you can download this Google Sheet and the extension, and then you can build your own Google Sheet. And imagine, again, filling the Google Sheet with thousands of objects. And these are just the parameters we were playing with, but those parameters could be like, again, like think of the use case of like warehouse. Those parameters could be quantity. So instead of like a box of 10 bolts, I have a box of like 100 bolts, right? And then just to show, and so this is, like I said, we have a Salesforce version of this as well. And that's a full content resource management setup where you get all the bells and whistles that Salesforce gives. I mean, which is awesome. I mean, the nice thing about Google Sheets is it's free. So you can, just like the extension, you'll be able to, if you're using Omniverse, you'll be able to grab that extension. Salesforce requires a license, but Salesforce is, again, a full content resource management. So as far as like developing this, it was, now, Paul Kane, our developer, I mean, he's, 20 years developer. So he's probably not a good use case, but it took us about a day and a half to do the first version of this. It's fairly straightforward to, like Vishal said, to like go to like run code. You run that from the launcher, and then the extension template. This, again, because we didn't do any interface work inside Omniverse, this was all just doing the data pull back and forth, that there was a little bit of tuning. One thing to note, if you're using this, it is going to be, because it does per frame, and it's every few seconds, it's going to be tied to your frame rate. So performance is important when you're doing this, especially when you're dealing with lots and lots of objects, but that's where you can pile on more video cards to whatever machine you're running it on, and it'll work great. But that's what Omniverse is for, right? I mean, that's, you can just put more hardware towards the problem. But you can do all sorts of fun stuff, like I can I can rotate, I can change the location. Oh, I think I may have disappeared. You have to be careful where you move things to. But yeah, so it's a fairly simple demo and a simple example of data manipulation, but for us, it's been really powerful and because where we're going to take this next is once we start pulling in all this sensor data from these tags, we're going to also record it. So we get location information, we get temperature, we get audio, we get orientation, so we know which way things, like which is important, again, like in an inventory use case, if your box falls off the shelf, you'll know that. And we'll start recording all that information, and then we'll be able to play it back as a historical playback, and you'll be able to run that historical data as a simulation, but then change parameters of that simulation. So what we think, again, that'll be a first of its kind where you use historical playback data as the simulation data source. So we're pretty excited. That will require a lot of horsepower. But again, that's what we're excited about Omniverse is going to offer us. But back to the extensions, it was about a day and a half to implement. It was fairly straightforward. The Google API, again, that was Google provides a lot of documentation for that as well. So that was pretty straightforward.
This is super cool, Star. One of the things I really like about how this ties into what you do as a company is, you have that job site idea where you have like a person running a dashboard for everything that's going on the job site.
Yeah.
And it fits so nicely with this concept in Omniverse of enabling end-to-end workflows across the apps that people know best, right? So you got people in Revit or Houdini or something like that, but then you also have the job site foreman in a website or in a Google Sheet or in a Airtable or in Salesforce or whatever, and then they can watch as things are moving around on the site on this dashboard of theirs. They have like a control dashboard, see where things are located as they move around. So it might not be that they're changing numbers to watch things move around. It's actually they're getting a report of where things are at the moment. And then they could issue commands, like they could send a text to the security guards to move the trucks out of the way or whatever they might need to do.
Yeah.
But then they can use the tool they love and they know, right? Designed by a person that designs that tool for them. And yet it's still incorporated into your entire end-to-end workflow. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
we have another Omniverse user from the community, Michael Wagner, who's in the chat from Epilog, who we've had on the stream before. And you've impressed him, which is impressive because he's done a lot of really cool stuff as well. But yeah, and a lot of people are saying that they could see the benefits of this for digital twins right away. Michael even saying this has so much potential. So very, very cool. And the fact that you're able to tie it into a free resource like Google Sheets is also pretty awesome. Makes it very accessible to developers worldwide. So that's awesome. Someone did ask, are there plans to monetize this type of extension or?
Well, the Google Sheets one, this one's going to be available for free. I mean, that again, and why we targeted Google Sheets for this extension was specifically because Google Sheets is available for free, and that's the free level of tool. The Salesforce version of it would probably be something that we'd offer our clients as a direct monetization thing, but that makes sense because Salesforce requires a license as well. So it's not like you could go download Salesforce and use it without a license. So yes-ish. The Google Sheet, though, that's going to be free, and it should be on GitHub by tomorrow. We're working with Mario on that to finalize the...
That's awesome. Actually, so that link you sent me, is it going to be, that's a link that'll work tomorrow?
That should be the link that works tomorrow, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to paste it in the chat. It's not going to work, but just save it to your bookmark it, anyone who's watching, and refresh it tomorrow, and it should work. So I'll paste those right now.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it'll get published into the community tab of Extension Manager, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part that we just had to update the topic. We need.
I think we're all set. I just got to get on VPN, and I should be able to do that right after this call.
And
so
it's happening right now live, Justin.
Can we show the community tab? That's a new feature that I think might be good to share on the
stream. Yeah, let's show that.
You want to show that, Justin? Maybe.
What was I sharing?
Show the community tab. Do you have it up?
I do not. If anyone else is closer, then by all means, please do so.
Sorry, did you want to show it?
Oh, me? Yeah, hold on a second.
Everybody get a good look at Justin's hair. You might not see it too much longer because he has promised to shave his head. If we get 100,
you're really good at reminding people this.
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding? I put it on Craigslist this morning.
He needs to make a clip of that from the stream to immortalize it.
What was the criteria? 100 extensions through the contest?
I thought it was 1,000.
It was 100. I have it on tape.
Shoot. Yeah.
Now there's witnesses.
Okay,
there we go.
There's a stream.
There it is.
Yeah, so on the exchange, there's this is where you'll go to see all these different apps and extensions and connections. And so, but you can also, the ones that are incorporated, you can just, I mean, we have this one because we developed it here locally, but I mean, if I clear that search tab, I mean, you can just see all of these extensions that load up when you are running code.
So Star, at the very top of that list box, there's an NVIDIA in community. Yeah. And so for everybody in the community, if you publish your stuff to GitHub and you apply the right topic and release, this is where your stuff will show up so that the folks in the world can make use of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are all the ones developed by NVIDIA, and then these are all the ones that community. So this is where the Google Sheet one we just showed you will show up here.
Cool, thank you.
Sure.
And we talked a little bit about USD while we were watching that awesome demo by Star. So if anyone has any questions or want to learn more about USD, there's a really, really high quality free course on NVIDIA's DLI or Deep Learning Institute. I'll paste a link in the chat right now. That's a great place to start if you're unfamiliar with USD, just to get more perspective on why it was created by Pixar, why others have jumped on and helping to expand it, including NVIDIA, and why the industry at large is adopting it pretty much in full force, it seems like. Does anyone else want to talk about the USD and the significance for this relates to this contest?
I would like to talk about everything we've seen a little bit, if we could.
Sure.
USD plus the warehouse generator stuff, plus the connections into Google Sheets. So what I would love to do is help folks see the opportunities, right? If you're thinking about making tools, a lot of times tool makers are like, yep, I can make tools. I've got all the skills to do that. What tools do you need? Like what's interesting to make? And I think you've just seen a few different pieces, like manipulating USD, making things change, and then connecting to real world data, spawning items. So one, I'd love to hear people in the chat say like, what kinds of things do you think would be interesting there? But I'd also love to hear, the folks on this chat here who have made some stuff, and maybe Grace, you've talked to a lot of people about digital twins. What are some opportunities for developers here? Little simplistic tools, things you can make in a day.
Yeah, I can start. It seems like what we saw today started from, hey, this would be useful to me. Mm-hmm. And then they showed it here on stream, and we see a flood of comments on the stream saying, hey, this is a great idea. I could use something like this too. So that's a great place to start, I think.
That's exactly what I was going to say. In the previous demo, you talked about how you solved a simple problem. But the fact is, you solved a simple problem in a very clever way to make it easier for others, so they don't have to learn from the beginning and figure all these things out. So Paul, thinking about digital twin, it's so vast. There's so much we can solve. Like, I don't want to limit it with a particular problem that they can solve. They can just take something and just iterate on it, use their own skills and how they see solving problems, and just go ahead and just create an extension for it.
Yeah, I guess one of the things I've seen is a lot of times people think that their little problem that they see is insignificant enough to share with the world. And it's actually probably a pattern that's really important for a wide range of things. And so I think your point is right, which is if you think about all of the different kinds of digital twins that could exist, maybe that's so broad it's daunting that you don't start, or it's so, if you get too narrow, it's so narrow that it's not related to me, right? So exactly. I think this insight that you've had there, Maddie, is really important, which is what is the workflow that you're a part of naturally, or that you discuss with other people who are trying to do something, and then build some tools to help those workflows. The patterns will start to come out. The customers will start to see what you're doing, and start to see where you're headed. Yeah. I think another one was maybe Star related to your stuff was you have a mission, like you have this business and you know the kinds of customers you're trying to reach and so forth. And so you built an extension that showcases the unique value that you offer, which is this active digital twin point, right? And it sort of emphasizes that point. And so it is a very small slice of what you offer, but it does paint the picture of the kind of value that you promote so that customers can kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, so I think that's great. There's a great opportunity for developers like us who can show simple or not simple, but sample or starter versions of these tools that are examples of what their teams or their development resources can provide a potential client or a customer, which is kind of how we saw it, which is here's the Google Sheet version, and then here's the Salesforce version that if you engage us as a client, that will build out for you or more sophisticated. And I think there's a bunch of categories of extensions, at least in the digital twin space, that there's opportunities for folks to build. I mean, I think there's like the tying into external data sources, which is the Google Sheet and the Salesforce is one. Tying into hardware, which is one of the ones that's tying into these kinds of things. These are Silicon Labs, Thunderboards. So tying into any kind of external, it's similar to the data issue, but it's more linked to specific kinds of hardware. And that hardware can literally be phones, right? Because phones provide a stream of data, or it can be dedicated hardware like these Silicon Lab dev boards. They're simple UX extensions, right? So, view manipulation of what you're looking at on screen. Like there's always room for iteration on manipulating 2D and 3D view stuff. Like that, people think that's a solved problem. It is not a solved problem. Like the difference between what a 3D artist is able to like manipulate on screen and what normal people can do. Like I encountered this just trying to mount all of these sensors in the same orientation on the ceiling and mounting the one in the front corner and this back corner and keeping in my brain, wait, the wire is supposed to all point that way? Like, and my 3D artist was like, how can you not just keep that in your head? So just little UI plugins for like grabbing and manipulating 3D objects. Like I know you guys would love to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
Object recognition is another one. We were brainstorming about this just yesterday, which is being able to scan for like the warehouse and administration side of things. Again, I think that a lot of people are focused on creation and not administration, but like using like the scanner gun or the QR code to like read data off objects like in a warehouse and then be able to use that data to generate the object in the digital twin. Like that would be a super useful.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to add in is extensions do not need to be only UI or content generation. They can also, pulling from my point of experience as well, what I do on my daily basis is working on extensions that enhance or improve the simulation in a certain way. So for example, Isaac Sim is essentially a bunch of extensions that work on creating digital versions of the sensors that robots use. So creating some sort of actuator or a helper to make this kind of actuators for robots. What else? Adding some sort of noise generation that behaves in the same way that the real noise would be present on sensing on the kind of sensors that we have on the environment as well. So yeah, there's multiple ways that extensions can improve the experience that we have with Omniverse.
Great. Couple comments from the community. A way of organizing assets by size or vertices. I wanted to do this problem but couldn't figure it out. Yeah, let's like shout out in the Discord. People would probably help you with that. Yeah. That's a great one. Good idea. Moving markup from Omniverse View to the other Omniverse products. Interesting. Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah. And Justin, the community has suggested a way out for the hair shaving. Brad says, did you clarify if you are shaving your real life hair or your metaverse avatar's hair?
Well, that would require me to first build my avatar, but yeah,
To build a
that's,
shaving
thank you for
extension.
that loophole. I appreciate people looking out for me. That's very nice.
It's funny, Wendy, actually someone posted, I think on Twitter, that they would love to see a digital twin of your studio there.
Oh, yeah.
So that could be something
That'd
else.
be awesome. Yeah.
That would be awesome. I'd use it as my background for sure.
Nowadays, we have tools for getting this kind of information and turning this into a point cloud, and then creating a digital twin of that would be an extension on itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a great extension. That's a great example of an extension, which is, I mean, you can import point clouds, but you could have extensions that would allow you to gather up photos and use instant nerf or use point clouds or configure
Yeah, slice
parameters.
objects like from a point cloud, generating the slices that are like chairs or the table in the scene that you see. This is another very interesting project.
Yeah, Apple's Room Plan API that they've been working on is a great example, and that stuff all dumps right to USD. So it's really just creating a good workflow for that to make it more efficient. So it's, those kinds of things. Like I wish I had infinite time to just play with a bunch of different ideas and proof of concepts. There's really no end right now.
So many ideas.
Well, so we've been spending the hour talking about extensions and how to build on top of the Omniverse ecosystem with other tools and other companies' products. So there's a lot of potential for people to use this knowledge to create your contest entry for the current contest in motion, Extend Omniverse. But your questions don't stop here. You can bring them over to the forums, official forums, or you can bring them over to the official Discord server. We actually have a channel specifically for the contest right at the top called Contest Extend Omniverse. Many of the people in this room right now are part of that channel and answering questions every day. And users I see are helping each other also. It's a great place to kind of interact and meet other people using Omniverse. And to that end, if everyone has a few minutes, we can close out the official part of the live stream and then bring the party over to Discord for a few minutes and go to the community voice chat room where any viewer can come in and join us. Turn on your mic or your webcam if you like, and ask us some questions. Whether it's about Justin's head shaving or the contest, USD or CGraph. I just posted a link in the chat to all the stuff happening at CGraph, so definitely be sure to check that out. But any closing thoughts from anybody on the contest or making an extension or advice for people?
First, gratitude. Thank you, Vishal, Renato, and Star. That was really inspiring, and it was so grateful for you to take the time to show us all that stuff, and it's amazing work. If you Extend Omniverse is the hashtag, go check it out. Look for the contest details. It's very easy to get started. There's a bunch of videos that will walk you through make your first extension, and also about a dozen different tutorials for scene layout or UI or scene manipulators, so you can really get up and running quickly. And of course, if you ever see anything really cool inside of Create or View or Code, you can just go find the extension that does that and look at the source code for that too, and then all the documentation that's inside of code. So, and then we're here on Discord to help you out. So it's great.
Don't get stuck alone, right? Discord is there. We're all hanging out. So.
Yep.
Next week, we're actually going to be doing a live stream with an Isaac user, Renato. Antonio, I will send you an invite if you want to join us. But Antonio, I think Paul even worked with him a little bit. He's doing his PhD in Spain, and I think he's done some extensions for Isaac.
Nice.
So we're going to continue the conversation on extensions next week with another community user. So that'll be a lot of fun. And speaking of which, we invite you, if you're working on an extension and you want to talk about it on this live stream, you could join us and be part of this panel.
Absolutely.
Show your stuff off. We would love that. So just hit me up on Discord or shoot me an email, edmar@nvidia.com, and we will get you on the schedule and promote you and your work. We love that. Well, thank you, everybody. I'd echo Paul. Thank you, Star. Thank you, Vishal, Grace, Justin, of course, Renato, Maddie, who's a constant present on Discord if you have any tech questions. We're going to head over there right now. Thank you, Wendy, for the broadcasting. Yeah. So anyone who wants to jump over, community voice chat channel on the Omniverse Discord, a bunch of us will head there right now, and we can continue the convo.
Yep. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you all.
Goodbye.
I'm kinda like complicated. I never know what I'm chasing. No, I don't need someone to save me, but you appear like a lightning bolt.